Alrighty, so let's check out this new half corrupt Zama. So they've actually released his abilities here. So let's take a look at it. Alright, so strength. Auto counter against forward charging ultimate and rising rush. We discussed this pretty in detail how super strong this is. Powerful combo disrupting effects when in a pinch. If Zamasu is prevented from switching while in the battlefield, yeah, this whole part about that specific ability targeted right towards Namek Goku specifically. Yeah, this is specifically so that he doesn't get crushed by Namek Goku. And then counterattack when defeated. We've already seen this before. Alright, so we already know that he's a purple unit. Let's see what his maximum Z ability will buff here. It'll buff future and powerful opponent. That's, oh, okay, just 2 tags. And then what's his ultra ability here for? Please tell me it's powerful opponent, but it probably is future, right? Get significant power-ups instead as a leader. Per future battle member. Okay, yeah. This if you run the team that I originally suggested, which is the triple ultra setup, you actually won't get this, but I doubt it'll matter that much. We'll have to see how much damage this character numbers this guy's putting up. So, Faint Strike Arts card. So it has armor. So charge in without fear of enemy blast arts. There's a chance to inflict faint on hit. This has oh, it's a 5% chance. Okay, I was gonna say there's no way this is something like 30% chance, like some of that other green Zenkai Trunks. Okay, let me actually whip this out of my bag real quick. Alright, so this green Zenkai Trunks. Don't even ask me where I pulled this from. I've been playing for this long now. I can pull stuff out of my bag. Such as, where is this part of this kit? I know it's here. Is it under his strike arts effects? Oh, it's a 5% chance to inflict faint. Okay, so this is the exact same ability that this future green Zenkai Super Trunks has. Okay. Okay. I don't. When this character released, I don't think I was even playing. After I just said I've been playing for a while, I don't. When you Zenkai, I was playing. I just don't remember how often you get this, but it is a 5% chance. You're probably basically never gonna get that. But yeah, at least it has blast armor. That's the most important part of this guy's kit right now. Not having blast armor would have been a real big issue, just like the original Elif of Krabs Zamasu. He doesn't have blast armor. His blasts are just normal. And then his effects on his blue. Reduce your enemy's Dragon Balls up to 2 times on activation. You'll even inflict heavy bleed and strong poison on hit. So it's massive damage. 60% special move damage. And then reduce enemy Dragon Balls. And then you inflict them with heavy bleed and strong poison. This is cancelable. So that means that this can just like this green con can be severely debuffed. But this is really strong. Just being able to on activation annihilate someone's Dragon Balls. I think it'll be way worth it just to whiff this, just purely to remove a Dragon Ball to stop them from rushing. But considering that he has a rush counter engage, I'm not sure about debuffing the enemies in terms of taking away their Dragon Balls. But that might only occur once or twice. I'm not super sure yet. We'll get to that eventually. Then his green card. Protect your hand on activation and nullify cover changes. Okay. So on activation, he gains ki, gains some damage, and then his cards can't be destroyed. On hit, he'll draw a strike, and then 5 counts of cover null, which is about 3 arts cards if you string them together, I believe. 2 or 3. Yeah, they've debuffed this from how it used to be, which used to be 10. But it'll probably be somewhat satisfactory. And especially if you run this guy on the powerful opponent team that I suggested with the Vegeta leader slot, you could... no, this is a green. Cover now might be an issue for this character. I'm not sure. Because Frieza just has such easy access to cover now. But yeah, just here on the green and on his first arts use, this character might have an issue with cover now. We'll have to see. And then his ultimate, on hit, destroy your enemy's entire hand and prevent all enemies from switching. Huh. What? So, supreme damage. Okay. Ultimate damage 50. Nullify endurance for 5 counts. That's longer than usual. I'm not sure what they want you to do with that. Do they want you to whiff the attack? Or... Because if you whiff it, it'll probably get debuffed anyways. So I'm not sure why they made this 5 instead of the normal 3. But yeah, you can still nullify endurance here. Destroy enemy hand and prevent all enemies switching. I don't get it. What does this mean? Is this no switching? After you land the ultimate, then you give them no switching, and you destroy their hand. I feel like okay, it's gonna be way more toxic that way, but I think this should be on activation, so that you can lock them in and use the ult. I'm not sure what this implies. I'm assuming this is no switching, like the actual just block no switching, which is supposed to be like you use your ult, and then you can go back on the offensive immediately. Is that I think that's the idea here. I'm not sure about that. That's a pretty risky. In general in this game, it's really risky just to attack, purely because Perfect Vanish exists. But I won't even go on a whole rant about how Perfect Vanish is the worst feature in this whole game. But yeah, even if you destroy their hand, they're gonna have a vanish after you land an ultimate. They will guaranteed have a vanish. So if you just attack and they just perfect vanish you, they could draw a card in time and still be able to like land an attack. But I think that the idea here is that you're supposed to go on the offensive immediately after. Not sure about that. Main ability, recover a large amount of health and draw both a green. Yeah, that's a green. And an ultimate. Draw a green. So get the 30% damage. Draw an ultimate. But these are all gonna get cancelled. These are all cancelable. Oh, I didn't even notice his ultimate is explode damage. It's not regular impact damage. I wonder if that's gonna make this hit a bit harder. I didn't notice that before. But yeah, back on what I was saying about this. This is cancelable, and then this is cancelable. So I think the idea here is that you're supposed to pop your main, use the green, take advantage of the damage and the protect hand it gives you, so that you don't lose your ultimate. You can land a card or two, and then go into this. But all of your buffs will just get cancelled. Your buffs will get cancelled, but this actually won't. Because let me actually go into these guys' kits. Let's take a look here. So I know Vegeta only cancels buff effects. So that means that 30% damage and 50% ult damage will still work. What about Android 13? Whenever they activate an ultimate, he just debuffs their power. He doesn't cancel any buff effects or cancel. And then Frieza, I'm pretty sure does both because he's just unbalanced. Does he do both? Oh no, he doesn't. He only cancels buff effects. Okay. So I think this will still be effective and give me that 80% ultimate damage boost basically. And then this deals explode damage. This could hit really hard. Supreme damage with explode. I'm not sure if the different types of damage, the different damage types like explode and pierce, do they do more than impact? Because I'm not super sure about the background and how it works. Because we used to have like reduce. Okay, let me actually just show you what I mean when I say I'm not sure what this exactly means. So let's take a look at someone from the old system like Beast Gohan. So if we take a look at Beast Gohan's kit here, reduces impact and pierce damage by 15%. So this reduced damage received seems to only work for impact damage. Or, no, that's not true. That can't be true. I don't know how this works. Because here they give you an extra amount against impact and pierce. So that means this works against all damage types. That means if you have a different damage type, you'll just do the same amount of damage. Not super sure about that. But yeah, that's the main idea behind the main green and then land a card or two and then alt. I'm assuming he stacks damage and when he uses cards. We'll see. We'll have to see that. 40% health. They weren't lying when they said a large amount of health. That's basically half your health back. And that synergizes well with that 50% when you get your health 50% below, you get some certain buffs. I think you're supposed to get below 50, then you're supposed to pop your main. That gets you all the way almost back to 100 again. I think that's what this is supposed to be synergizing well with here. Then we have 40 key, damage 30%, uncancelable. Okay, that's pretty good. Uncancelable, just straight up damage. And then he cancels his debuffs. Okay. Starter ability. With the -2 reduction to sub counts on switch, it'll be easier to get this character back out and into battle. Now this synergizes well with the team I was talking about earlier, because Vegeta constantly, every single time he's hit by an enemy arts, he's gonna decrease his sub counts, and then his sub counts are already -2 by default. So this character, and this character, and this character are just gonna be switching in and out consistently. That's pretty decent there. There's good sub count manipulation on that team. All uncancelable. So this draw speed's uncancelable. This is uncancelable. Yeah, pretty obvious. 200% damage guard. That sounds like a lot, but Vegeta has 210, and even at 2 copies, he's a bit squishy. But what can I ask? It's not like they're actually gonna make characters have a good amount of damage guard. Okay, when defeated, deal major damage to the enemy and inflict all enemies with heavy bleed, strong poison, and paralyze. We've seen that before. If you're on the battlefield, an enemy prevents you from switching. We've seen that already. When your health is 50% or lower, sub counts will be reduced. Switch onto an ally when things are looking grim. So on final counter, major damage to, or deals major damage to enemy, explode variety. I'm still not sure if this is actually going to make this hit a bit harder. Also deals 100% of damage to everyone on standby. We already discussed this before. We've discussed this ability. On Art's use, he'll gain some gauge, he'll stack damage and cover now. We've already seen this before on the page. When hit by an enemy arts one time, we've seen this on the page that they gave us before. And then here, this is what the main is supposed to synergize well with. Because once you get below 50%, you get unique gauge charge rate up, and then you can just go here, pop your main, and then you get 40% back. That's 90% of your health is like full. Assuming you only stop at 50. But that's basically what they want you to do there. Okay. And then when this is that whole anti-Namek Goku effect. While not defeated, sub counts -10 whenever they rush. While not defeated, an enemy activates. Okay, this just means that he can always sub back in. So he has one universal buff effect canceling. This applies just in general. Like if he's on standby and someone rushes with endurance null, he'll cancel it. Which synergizes perfectly with these two characters because they also cancel debuffs. Or they cancel buff effects. This team is gonna be insane. And then he has a strike cover change, against blue, like I said originally in my original video. Go check that out if you want to see me go over some of the paragraphs that I'm skipping here. Unique gauge. I'm really interested about this. Unique gauge starts as a counter type. Zamasu can activate a counter that deals massive damage against an enemy, forward charging ultimate arts, awaken arts, or rising rush. Get a boost to crit rate, type neutral, and fill up your gauge to the max, and fill up the gauge to max, or the auto counter activates. After activating the auto counter, the gauge will become time type, and you continue to get the effects by filling it to max. So counter type to time type. So when you counter something, it'll become a time type. It'll build all the way back up again. Then when it gets full, it goes back to a counter type. That's my initial thoughts here. But let's press on. So starts as counter type, starts at 50% gauge, and then it's an auto counter type B. Counter type, when hit by counterable attack, deal massive damage to enemy, switch to time type. This is like a UI kind of gauge. When you counter them, you deal damage to them. That's a UI gauge. Counterable attacks, ultimates, and Rising Rush. When unique gauge becomes full or auto counter activation, health plus 20%, key, he gets crit rate, he gets uncancelable draw speed, that's decent there. He goes type neutral, he doesn't get affected by debuffs, and he cancels his current debuffs too. And then while on battlefield, this will charge. Consumed entirely on auto counter activation, entirely when unique gauge is full. Does this mean you can infinitely counter ultimates? Assuming that his gauge, his time type fills up? Because you get so what I'm picking up from his unique gauge here is that you're supposed to switch in with this character and use this. Use one arts to get plus 20% gauge. He starts with 50. So you start with 50% of your gauge, right? Where is this part here? I know there's a part that says you start with 50. Is it under here? Starts with 50% gauge. So you come in, you use an arts, so then you get 70% of your gauge. Then you just switch out. Then you switch out to this character. This character starts getting hit and builds up his gauge, and he lowers sub counts. Then you switch back into this character, use this again, and now you're at 90% gauge. And then just copy paste that again. You swap into this character, and whenever this character gets hit for the first time when it switches onto the battlefield, he'll kill sub counts. He'll do this. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, let's remove that starter there. When you ooh. So I think how this is supposed to synergize is that you start off with 50% of your gauge. Then you come in and you use 20%. Then you swap out, like for example, you swap out to Vegeta. Vegeta gets hit a bit, right? And because he's getting hit, he'll lower sub counts. His gauge will start building up. Then you swap into Frieza. Like you immediately you swap into this guy, get hit twice, swap into Frieza, get hit once. Ally sub counts -3. You would have built up like 20 plus 20 cost. And then this, what does this give you here? 15. That's 35 costs. And then now you can swap back to this character and then use this. And then you just rinse and repeat. Swap back out. Let him get hit. Swap back in. And then you could just keep cycling this. I think that's how that's supposed to work. That's why he has this whole focus on sub-count manipulation. And then once this gauge gets full, it's consumed entirely when it's full. So this means when the gauge becomes full, it just resets to 0, right? And you get these effects and then just resets back to 0. So you either have to counter before the gauge becomes 100%, or it just resets back down again. That's what I'm picking up here. Okay. Which actually makes this whole 200% charge rate a little bit disadvantageous, a little bit. Because if you get that 200% charge rate and you don't counter before the gauge is completely full, it'll just reset. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is gonna look. It gets full and then it gets consumed. It just empties itself out automatically and then it becomes the time type again. Okay. That's pretty interesting. I think this character is actually decent. I just think we need to see him in use though. I feel like this on paper stuff looks pretty cool and pretty strong, but I think a lot of this stuff will depend on how we see him practically get used, especially with this whole where's this part of his kit? Ally sub counts -2 with this whole unique gauge plus 20% on first arts use. I think this plus his -2 he's just regular -2 sub counts. And then pairing him together with these characters, like pairing him together with Frieza and Vegeta, I think this could be a really deadly combination. You can really quickly start stacking up this gauge here. Huh. Okay, but I think it'll be best to wait to see this character in action before we make a real judgment on how good he is. But yeah, that's the breakdown on how his kit looks. Tell me what you think about it. I think he looks pretty decent. And I think we just need to see him in action to see how if he's like top 4. Well, if he's gonna hang in there with the ultras. I think there's actually gonna be top 5 ultras. How many ultras are in the meta that are viable? Like this is they've released so many ultras in this past couple months span. Let's just filter by rarities. Rarities, ultras. We have the 3 latest ultras. The 2 anti-ultras were still both very much so viable. Vegeta's very viable. We're gonna get the Zamasu, who's very viable. And you can run Cell. Like if you really want to, you could run Cell. You could also run Hit. These two are there are options that exist. But there are gonna be 4 meta relevant ultras at the same time. I don't think we've ever seen this happen. Yeah, we're making history here, and not the good kind, because now you have 2 triple ultra setups that you can use. But yeah, we'll have to see how good this guy is once he releases and once people get to test him out.